So a while ago we looked at how to fix Disneyland's Tomorrowland, so in today's video we're going to take that same format and look at your ideas to fix Disney California Adventures Pixar Pier. I have a lot of problems with this area. One of my most popular videos is my review for Pixar Pier, where I tore it to shreds. I think it really falls below Disney quality. I'm probably one of very few Disney fans who actually loved Paradise Pier. I grew up going to Paradise Pier, so part of that is just nostalgia, but I genuinely believe it was the better land because Pixar Pier just took an existing area of the park and slapped a lot of cheap theming on top of it, and it just really devalued the entire land, in my opinion. So over the last month or so, I've been taking comments on how all of you would fix Pixar Pier, so we're gonna go through those in today's video. Before we get started, please like this video, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of Pixar Pier and how you would fix it. I would love to know. Of course, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. At the time of this recording, we are pushing for 20,000 subscribers, so I would greatly appreciate if you helped us reach that goal. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's start things off with the first comment. Hey, theme park nerd, for Pixar Pier, I would love to see a better version of Incredicoaster. They should get rid of the floating jack-jacks and replace all of the still animatronics with actual moving ones and make different colored ride vehicles. Next, they should bulldoze Inside Out Emotional Whirlwind and add a Pixar-themed Maliboomer. I also think they should change the name of the Pixar Pal Around. It's a horrible name, I agree. And I think they should get rid of the Paradise Gardens section and instead extend Pixar Pier all the way around and add a roller coaster or something thrilling that keeps the open feel that Pixar Pier has. There are lots of different ideas in this comment. I agree with some, I disagree with others. I totally agree with adding animatronics to Incredicoaster. At the time of this recording, Disney just announced that they're adding the Hong Kong Disney animatronics to Frozen Ever After at Epcot, which is crazy because I just uploaded my video about fixing rides at Walt Disney World, and that was one of the ideas that I mentioned. So the fact that they're actually doing that gives me so much hope. It makes me so happy. I was so excited to see that announcement. So honestly, that might make this idea more realistic. I really think Incredicoaster would be so much better if they had animatronics throughout the ride experience. I would be very surprised if they were able to add animatronics during the actual ride, like in the scream tubes. I don't think that they would ever do that. And if they did, they would be very small scale animatronics. Maybe something like the outdoor animatronics that you can find at Super Nintendo World. It's absolutely inexcusable that the beginning and the end of the attraction do not have animatronics, because those are perfectly staged areas. They're literally indoors. You could have an animatronic figure in there. Plus, I really think Incredicoaster needs to rework the story because it's been the grand opening of Incredicoaster for over 5 years already. We're coming up on 10 years of Incredicoaster, and the story of the attraction is still going to be that they rethemed California Scream into Incredicoaster and the Incredibles are here because it's the grand opening. It's an unacceptable story for a Disney attraction, in my opinion. It's absolutely ridiculous. So if they're set on keeping Incredicoaster for the long haul, they need to rework the story. They need to replace the vignettes at the beginning and the end with Edna mode. And honestly, I think it would be best if they had animatronics of all the Incredibles at the very end. That would be very cool. Unfortunately, you have less time to look at the vignette at the end, but maybe you could rework the ride system a little bit so you can take that turn a little more slowly, but who's to say? I would love for some sort of Maliboomer drop tower attraction to return to the pier area of California Adventure, but I would be very surprised if that does happen. It's kind of insane that this park used to have 3 quote-unquote drop rides with Tower of Terror, Maliboomer, and Jumpin' Jellyfish, if you want to count Jumpin' Jellyfish. It's like a kiddie drop ride. Maliboomer was always the most generic of those 3, so it's unsurprising that it was removed. I also think they had issues with loose articles, but SNS drop towers exist all over the country, including Supreme Scream down the street. But I literally only rode Rocket at Lagoon because of Maliboomer nostalgia. I was like, it seems like a similar height to Maliboomer. It has that launch up effects that Maliboomer had, so I had to experience it. Same thing with Power Tower at Cedar Point. I 100% agree that Pixar Pal Around is a terrible name. I miss Sunwheel and Mickey's Fun Wheel. As for Paradise Gardens Park, I have no idea how I would handle it. If they increased the quality of the existing Pixar Pier before they expanded it, then I would probably be more okay with it, but it is what it is. I'm not sure how or if they could fit another roller coaster into the pier area, especially because the Grand Californian Hotel is right there. So it's not like you could have another roller coaster that engulfs the entire area like Incredicoaster, because then you would block the views that Disney's paying hotel guests are paying for. So I feel like that idea is just a little bit unrealistic, as cool as it would be. Maybe they could have something like Jaguar at Knott's that just kind of roams around the entire area, but I don't know. Next comment. Some easy suggestions to add overall modern decorations and kinetic energy to this park would be to add characters sprinkled throughout, like Dash sprinting on rooftops, Toy Story aliens on rooftops, and swaying up balloons. These could be little animatronics or static figures, anything but the babies on sticks. These are great ideas. Adding just little bits of motion throughout Pixar Pier would be really, really cool. Again, I know I already used this example, but Super Nintendo World is like the king of kinetic energy. So adding just little figures, little things that move, I love that idea for swaying up balloons. I think that could work really well. Dash sprinting on top of a rooftop could be an interesting effect, but I have no idea how they would do that. These are great ideas, and I feel like they would bring so much more life to Pixar Pier. So I 100% agree. This would certainly improve Pixar Pier. Next comment. The Pixar Pier retheme was doomed from the start. I love Pixar and would love to see rides for many of the IPs they've created, but mixing them all in one place just doesn't work unless it's planned to be that way from the beginning. Your idea about making the entire Pixar Pier area into a Toy Story land, making the Incredicoaster look like it was made out of one of those wooden Connect toys, was an amazing idea for this area. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. That's still my favorite idea so far. I 100% agree that Pixar is not like a unified story. Pixar has many different stories, and that's the amazing thing about Pixar. It is a studio, it is not an IP. So just walking around a land themed to Pixar is just going to be infinitely more incoherent than walking around a land themed to a single IP, like Cars Land next door. As many problems as Avengers Campus has, that's infinitely more unified, it's infinitely more coherent than Pixar Pier. They already had Toy Story Mania within Paradise Pier, so I can't believe they didn't take the obvious step from Paradise Pier to Toy Story Pier. They instead take this backwards, insane step in logic from Paradise Pier to Pixar Pier, which is, it annoys me so bad. But I thank you for supporting my idea. I still like it the most. Anyway, next comment. As you've mentioned before, I think Paradise Gardens Park needs to be changed too. Only 3 Pixar universes are truly showcased, soon to be 4 with Coco, but expanding out and adding 3 or so more could flesh out the ideas much better. I also think Epic Universe style portals separating the neighborhoods would go a long way. They need to be fully detailed worlds instead of lightly themed sections of a pier. Maybe even bring in Monsters Inc. style doors to move you in between worlds. A lot of it would have to be changed, but I think that's my biggest problem with the land. Also, amazing work with the videos, dude. Keep up the good work. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. These are amazing ideas. This is what I wanted when I started this videos. I love this so much. Epic Universe style portals, like, you like completely put my thoughts together better than I could, because like that's exactly what bothers me about Pixar Pier. Just walking from the Incredibles corner of Pixar Pier to the Toy Story corner of Pixar Pier to the Pixar Promenade to Emotional Whirlwind, there's no like dividing point. It's all just meshed together. There's nothing that separates them. The Monsters Inc. door idea is genius. I love that. I think that's very, very creative. I'm not sure how it would work in reality. I do appreciate how Emotional Whirlwind has its own section within the Incredicoaster layout. That makes it feel the most like divided from the rest of the pier. Pixar Promenade is also separated by Incredicoaster tracks, but the Incredibles neighborhood and the Toy Story neighborhood have no dividing line. And that really bothers me. It makes it feel very unorganized. And I do 100% agree that the neighborhoods are very much lightly themed and they could be much more detailed, much more immersive, much more Disney than what is currently there. This is an absolutely amazing idea. Moving on to the next comment. Okay, with Incredicoaster specifically, would it be better if it had a sort of dark ride section or sections where we could get the story beats, but still retain the track and lengthy runtime of the California Screaming Coaster? I feel like creating a hybrid dark ride / coaster similar to the Mummy Coaster in Universal would have been a way better choice and could have actually made the ride an enjoyable classic, but that's just me. I think this is 100% a great point. The Incredibles deserved a dark ride roller coaster hybrid like Revenge of the Mummy. It would have been a much better way of communicating their story. It could have been a much better, much more exciting attraction. It would have fit the franchise so much more than just throwing the Incredibles on top of the existing California Screamin' layout. Incredibles and a dark ride coaster would have been a much better fit than Incredibles and California Screamin' were. But I feel like there's no way to rework California Screamin' into an attraction like Revenge of the Mummy unless you like double the size of the ride. But I don't think they would ever do that. I think we're asking for two completely different rides here, which is just pretty funny. The Incredibles deserve better. Next comment. I personally think Pixar Pier has a lot going for it, especially with the Coco ride that is coming. I'm very excited for that as well, to be clear. But I'm disappointed that they only replaced half of Paradise Pier when they really should have rethemed the whole land. What I would do with that is retheme Silly Symphony Swings to Up, retheme Jumpin' Jellyfish to Finding Nemo, replace Golden Zephyr with a new spinning ride that may be based on Elemental, retheme or replace Goofy Sky School with a ride based on a Pixar IP, replace Paradise Gardens Grill and Boardwalk Pizza with a table service restaurant based on the Tavern restaurant from Onward, and finally replace Ariel's Undersea Adventure with Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. As for what is currently in Pixar Pier, I think they could improve the Incredicoaster by giving it those VR headsets like they did with the Revolution at Six Flags Magic Mountain, and I think having Mickey's face on Pixar Pal Around seems a bit out of place, and it might make sense to replace it with the Pixar Ball, at least on the side facing Pixar Pier. If they were to expand Pixar Pier into Paradise Gardens Park, these are great ideas. This is how I would want them to handle it. My favorite idea that you came up with was the Tavern restaurant from Onward. That would be so cool. That would be very, very cool. Pixar Pier very much feels like a jumbled mix of ideas, and your expansion into Paradise Gardens Park definitely continues that, but I think it improves upon it by really leaning into the different feels that Pixar has provided over the years. Replacing Ariel's Undersea Adventure with Remy's Ratatouille Adventure makes so much sense if they were to expand all the way around. I think Disney values Ariel's Undersea Adventure too much to replace it. They literally cloned it for Magic Kingdom. I think Up is a perfect retheme for Silly Symphony. Finding Nemo is obviously a great fit for Jumpin' Jellyfish. Honestly, you may not even have to replace Zephyr to rework it into an elemental attraction. They would have to do like as much work as they did to transform Flix Flyers into Emotional Whirlwind to make Golden Zephyr into an elemental attraction. They could like theme it to the cloud from that movie. I don't even know. Lots of great ideas, but I do disagree with VR headsets. I don't like that on roller coasters, and I feel like that Incredicoaster's big upside is the capacity, and VR headsets would definitely reduce the capacity. If you've ever waited in line for Mario Kart Bowser's Challenge at Universal Hollywood or Epic Universe, you know how AR or VR headsets suck, and they make the line move so much slower. So personally, I would not be a fan of that. I also really like the idea of putting the Pixar Ball on the side facing Pixar Pier. I think that would be really cool, and it makes so much sense. I personally don't think they can take Mickey off of the wheel because that is California Adventure's like park icon in the same way that the castle is the icon of Disney. But that's just my opinion. Next comment. Honestly, I don't have as many issues with it as you do, but off the top of my head, I would say replace the carnival games with either a mini show or dark ride if it fits. In general, I'd like to see an Up attraction as it's one of my favorite Pixar films, and it doesn't have an attraction yet. Incredicoaster needs a major refurb. While we're at it, at the very least, replace the static figures at the beginning and at the end of the attraction with animatronics. Incredicoaster is so unreliable that it seriously needs the refurb. I swear I always see the ride go down for such a long period of time. I admittedly do like the idea of sometimes doing California Screamin' music for old time's sake. Lastly, as an unrealistic take, add the Monsters Inc. coaster that Hollywood Studios is getting, but to be honest, I know there's no space, especially since they are building the Coco boat ride. I do love that idea though. I think the Monsters Inc. door coaster would 100% make sense in the Pixar Pier area, but you are right. I just don't think there's space. I think the only space they do have is the space that they're using for the Coco boat ride. I was under the impression that the original plan for the Coco boat ride was to go through Incredicoaster to replace the games of the boardwalk like you suggested and have the show building back there, but it looks like they opted to go around Incredicoaster, which I think is both exciting and disappointing. Exciting because I think we're gonna have more themed space. I feel like Coco is gonna have its own defined section of the park. It's gonna be the most separated of any of the Pixar Pier neighborhoods, which I think is gonna make it the best. And honestly, I think the Coco boat ride is going to be the best attraction in Pixar Pier, which I'm very excited for. I think the show building is gonna be so big that they won't have enough space for another dark ride, but I 100% agree that Up is another franchise that absolutely deserves a dark ride, and that would work great in Pixar Pier. In a hypothetical world where California Adventure opened with Pixar Pier, I feel like these are some great ideas. A Coco boat ride that they are building right now, an Up dark ride, like how we discussed earlier, like Revenge of the Mummy dark ride roller coaster hybrid for the Incredicoaster instead of the Incredicoaster we have, would have been a better fit. Plus that Monsters Inc. door coaster as well. Like, those are 4 key attractions that this land could have had. Plus you throw on Toy Story Midway Mania. There's 5 huge attractions. That could have been so cool if they laid it out properly to make everything fit. But obviously that's not the world that we live in. I 1000% agree. The beginning of end of Incredicoaster need animatronics. It's absolutely ridiculous that they did not open with animatronics. I don't feel like Incredicoaster is that unreliable, but I've definitely seen it have issues before, so it's not like flawless. They definitely abuse that ride. That ride is open like 365 days a year. It's cycling from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. pretty much every single day. It runs like 5 trains. Disney is abusing that ride, so I kind of feel bad for it, low-key. Moving on to the next comment. Build a Remy's Ratatouille adventure, put audio animatronics in Incredicoaster, and remove the babies on sticks. We can also swap Jumpin' Jellyfish for a Nemo theme. Honestly, I think Jumpin' Jellyfish to Nemo might be the easiest re-theme Disney could ever do. We have a second vote to clone Remy's Ratatouille adventure for Pixar Pier. I'm not the biggest fan of Remy's. I think it's too screen dependent, but it would be really cool to see California Adventure get a trackless dark ride, because right now it looks like they're not planning to add a trackless dark ride to California Adventure, which makes me kind of sad. And again, I 1000% agree with putting animatronics on Incredicoaster. That's like the easiest thing that they could do to improve Pixar Pier in my mind. Not to say that it would be cheap though. Next comment, have Disney go out of business. Next comment, remove Goofy Sky School and everything by it and replace it with something like a spinner. I really love Goofy Sky School, even though it is just an off-the-shelf Wild Mouse. California Adventure only has 2 different roller coasters, with obviously Goofy Sky School being one of them, and the Pixar Pier and Paradise Gardens Park section of the park already has like 4 spinners, 5 if you count the Ferris wheel. I personally don't think this would be a great decision. I feel like it would be a lateral move in quality at best. But spinners are always fun. Moving on, Pixar Pier thoughts. I find myself never spending any time there because it feels like I'm walking down reskinned pier. I feel like I'm starting to feel IP burnout at the thought of Pixar Pier itself. Disney's constant use of their own IP was something that's never bothered me too much. But since Pixar Pier's use of IP is mainly in the form of reskins, that's where I have an issue. Emotional whirlwind angers me for no reason. Let's completely get rid of that. I think the Coco ride genuinely seems really refreshing and is something they needed. It makes the pier feel like less of a temporary idea / placeholder land to me. I completely agree with that. It feels inevitable that they're going to get their paws back on Paradise Gardens Park, and honestly, I'm dreading it. Retheming attractions that have already been rethemed, the Swings, Sky School. Oh, I don't love that. I was seeing some comments suggesting that they'd retheme Jumpin' Jellyfish. Oh my god, that would be my last straw. I'm about to say something crazy, and it's Jumping Jellyfish is one of my favorite rides, purely based on nostalgia. As much as I hate to say this, I'd rather take that ride out completely and replace it with something new than watch it be reskinned. If they were to ever touch Paradise Gardens Park, I think we'd need something completely new. If I could help it, I wouldn't touch it. That's the only part of that whole area area I frequent. Also, something completely unnecessary, but I'd love to see the wave machine back. I know it doesn't make as much sense with the incredicoaster as it did with Screamin'. It was expensive to maintain and a little damaging to the tracks, but a girl can dream. I don't remember if I ever got to see the wave machine work in person before it was shut down. That's like something Paradise Pier that would make me very happy as well. If they were able to reference or like bring back an element to the pier that I love, I would obviously be thrilled. I'm in the same boat. I go to the pier area and honestly California Adventure as a whole so much less than I used to, mainly because of Pixar Pier. Paradise Pier used to be my favorite land in both parks, and now walking through Pixar Pier, I have the exact same attitude that you do. It's just depressing to walk through. Like, they put no effort into this retheme. They ruined my favorite land. It does not make me happy to walk through Pixar Pier. For the most part, I didn't have a problem with reskins either. Like, I personally love Mission Breakout. I know a lot of you watching this video don't love it nearly as much as I do, but I think reskins can be done well, like Mission Breakout. I've discussed at length why I think Pixar Pier was a bad idea from the beginning. Not only was it a bad idea, they executed it poorly, because I completely agree that these reskins are cheap, lazy, they're not Disney quality. I have mixed emotions on Paradise Gardens Park, but I completely agree with being attached to some of these rides because it feels like a vast majority of Disney fans just don't have that same connection. Lots of interesting things to think about. Moving on to the final comment for this video. My unrealistic wish list for Pixar Pier is to turn it into the California version of Fantasy Spring. It's a beautiful land with the lagoon in the middle where World of Color is located, so I would want to make it Disney. 1. Little Mermaid and Jumpin' Jellyfish can stay the same, but build a Tangled boat ride instead of a Coco boat ride. Next, since there's a Shooting Dark ride at Avengers Campus, we can get rid of Toy Story Mania and use it to make a Frozen ride, maybe a trackless dark ride if there is space, then turn the roller coaster into a Peter Pan themed coaster where we'd be sprinkled with pixie dust, fly through the air to get away from the pirates, also fix the rickety loop. Goofy Sky School can change into the Flounder coaster at Tokyo Disney Sea, and all the spinny rides can either go away or change to fit the theme. Now you can keep the Mickey icon on the wheel, and it will make sense. Just get new gondolas with pretty colors, that's real. Lastly, bring back Ariel's Grotto. I loved that place as a kid, and it would work perfectly. I think this is one of the most creative ideas we've gotten. I absolutely love it. At first, I thought you were saying to make Pixar Pier like a Pixar version of Disney Springs, but it's clear that you want to bring back Disney IPs. I do agree that Ariel's Grotto was so much more visually appealing and so much nicer than what's it called? Lamplight Lounge, that's what it's called. I hate the red spires. It's just too much red at Pixar Pier. It's so ugly. I think theming Incredicoaster to a Peter Pan attraction is very creative. I think that could be very fun. It would feel much more Disney. That's 100% for sure. I personally think Midway Mania is a better attraction than Spider-Man Web Slingers, but I understand what you're saying. It is weird that California Adventure does have 2 Shooting Dark rides, and it's weird that so many people prefer the older one, but that's just my opinion. I think a trackless Frozen ride could be really, really cool. Like, obviously you could theme the floor to ice, and like Elsa's just like gliding us along the entire way. That could be so cool. It would be different from Frozen Ever After. It would probably be one of the best rides at California Adventure, so I think that would be worth sacrificing Midway Mania. Honestly, this would be a very, very interesting idea. And that is gonna wrap things up for this video. Thank you so much for everybody who submitted a comment. I apologize if I was not able to include you. I'm planning on continuing this series. I'm not sure which subject we should do next. It might be Universal Florida, or it might be another land within the Disneyland Resort. I'm still deciding. Make sure you're subscribed, because I'll let you know on the community tab when I'm cooking up the next video in this series. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Thank you for listening. Please like this video. Please leave a comment down below. And of course, please subscribe to this YouTube channel. I greatly appreciate your support. Thank you so much, everybody, and I will catch you later.